Chapter 4, Larger Than Life. It's funny because a version of this was performed in the Axis a couple of years ago.
During COVID?
Yeah, during COVID, so it feels like I should be standing, but never mind. Imagine. I was the smallest of my mother's 6 babies. I wasn't a small baby, exactly, but at 7 pounds 6 ounces, I was the smallest of hers. Now that we're all grown up, yeah, I'm still the smallest. The runt. For most of my life, I was skinny. For a while, I was anorexic, if you can believe that. Then I was slim, and I suppose I've always had an unhealthy relationship with food, like most women, like my own mother. She was a secret eater. I remember her as a slim woman, but only until I was about 4 years old. As I got older, she got wider. Now I realise that her girth probably grew in direct proportion to her own unhappiness. But I don't think mine has. I was bony until I was about 37, that's only 5 years ago. I liked having a skinny body. It was, according to every piece of mass media I consumed, acceptable. It was, I thought, felt, and believed, the only thing about me that was acceptable. No, more than acceptable, aspirational. I was what so many people wished they were. I thought that being barely there meant I was somehow more valuable than I would have been had I taken up more space. I used to think I looked well when my bones stuck out. I am no longer convinced this is true. My body was always a site of confusion. At once what I lived in, but never really feeling like home. My body was colonized by my own father before I could even speak. It was always a site of mixed messages. The father and brothers who heaped scorn on it during the day heaped themselves on it during the night. As they, and others like them, feasted on it, I starved it, in the hope that they would stop gorging on me. Women's bodies are the zones where men wage their wars. Whether those wars are personal, political, or simply an extension of the wars that exist within their own heads and hearts. I remember being 16 and finding the cummerbund my eldest brother had worn on the day of his first Holy Communion when he had been 7 years old. It fitted around my waist. I wore it under my clothes and beat myself up literally and figuratively when it got tight. I would berate myself for being fat, as if I, as a 16-year-old female, appeared to be heftier than a 7-year-old boy had been. I would attack my own stomach, pounding it with my fists as if it were freshly risen dough, as if that would rid me of what I deemed my excess fat. A few years ago, a dear friend of mine summed it up. It being the hate-hate relationship that women are encouraged to have with our bodies, when she said, I wish I were as fat now as I was the first time I thought I was fat. Mm-hmm. Yes! I thought, actually no. That version of me is not the version I want back. Because when I think of myself at that age, at that weight, I remember the feelings, the emotions, the terror, the constant fear, the unbearable, unending sadness, the wanting to disappearness of being that person. I wanted to disappear. No, that's not right. I wanted to blossom or something. I wanted to transform. I wanted to bloom, but I didn't know how. Does blooming always mean getting bigger? Always? Fat bitch, I used to say to the woman in the mirror. Or fatness. Or just fat, if I was in a hurry. Grabbing as much flesh in my hand as I could, I would shake my head in disgust at my reflection. Then I twigged that my girls could hear me and see me addressing myself like this. I didn't want them bearing witness to these little chats. I didn't want to infect my precious daughters with the pernicious disease of self-hatred. So I stopped saying those things to myself. Okay, to be totally honest, I mean, I stopped saying those things to myself out loud. No one could hear what I said, how much I hated myself if the words were only audible inside my own head. Then in 2019, I nearly died. And my recovery took months. For the first 4 of those, I was confined to bed, unable to do much except eat and sleep. My appetite did not desert me. Ishtar and Kishmira took on the running of the house as well as everything else they were doing. Both excellent cooks, my daughters ensured that they nourished my fat body, as well as they nourished my soul. Being bedbound caused me to lose muscle and gain weight. Of course I noticed, sure, how could I not? Every single bit of me got bigger, well, except my ears. I was equal parts disgusted and fascinated by my new body, or rather, the new presentation of my old body. I have a double chin for the first time. I find it slightly cute to touch the area just above my throat and feel a jibbly bit of fat. My thighs are solid in a way that they never were before. Don't worry, there's no danger of a thigh gap here. I noticed just the other day that there is fat at the backs of my knees. I didn't know you could cultivate fat behind your kneecaps. My fingers were never the most elegant part of me. Now they are very inelegant and chunky. My rings need to be removed from their habitual fingers of residence, or in some cases, removed entirely. When I type, which I do for hours every day, my fingers rub off each other in a most ungainly fashion. There's only 49 pages left, okay? So just, if you need a look. I do not want to stay this big, but it is not because each additional kilo of fat is accompanied by a commensurate kilo of shame. I'm not ashamed of my new, larger self. I am entranced by how different this is to how I am used to myself being. I want to lose weight because I'm uncomfortable, but physically uncomfortable, not mentally or emotionally. I am fascinated by what I have become, intrigued by the corporeal mass of myself, fascinated by the fact that when I was a size 12 or a size 10 or a size 6, which I'm not meant to be, I hated myself more than I do now. These days, I do not hate my body. I want to celebrate it. I want to celebrate what it has come through, the tale it has lived to tell, some of which are etched on its skin. Despite the odds, I want to honor how it has managed to maneuver me to and through half a century. And of course, the warrior in me wants to clarify my first half century. When it comes to shedding kilos, the maxim eat less, move more springs to mind, and it is oversimplistic and ableist, of course. But there is an element of truth in it. I eat healthy food, but probably too much of it, which means my calorific intake is possibly more than I require, and that leaves the movement piece to be confronted. Oh boy, that's a hard one. I do hard things, but I avoid this one like the proverbial plague. I'm neither an athlete nor a dancer. Weight does not, however, magically drop off. Muscles do not magically tone themselves. I am going to have to move myself on a very regular basis so I don't seize up. I'm going to have to learn to inhabit my carcass, to become somatically whole again. I will need to find a way to move myself on a regular basis that I enjoy. I want enjoyment of my physical self to be the rule rather than the exception. I want to return to a point where my body is comfortable, where moving is no longer cumbersome, where my gait is not affected and my fingers are no longer pudgy on the keyboard. While I claim no shame, I will confess to a wee bit of vanity. I want to fit into my beautiful clothes again. Most of the clothes I grew out of, I gave away, but there are a few left that I wistfully stored in anticipation of wearing them again. Sidebar, saris are one size fits all forever. For all that it's different, however, it is still my body. I'm grateful that it works so well. I'm grateful for the chance to start a new relationship with it. I know how lucky I am that despite what it has been through, it still functions. I will become somatically whole again. I will reclaim the joy of my physical self that was robbed from me. I will learn how to inhabit the crime scene. I will learn how to make my body, which was such a delighted home to my children, a delighted home to myself.